The 9 Stages of Meditation, the Mind Training of the Great Seal, Mahamudra. The 9 Stages of Mind Training. As the mind develops through the practice of meditation, it goes through a series of stages or levels. Buddhist practitioners over the centuries have identified 9 stages along the path. In the Tibetan tradition, this process of mental development has been diagrammed symbolically as a series of vignettes in which a monk gradually tames his mind, represented by an elephant, with also a monkey and a rabbit. In the Japanese tradition, a similar series of depictions has been used. It is known as the ox herding pictures. It's also known as the 10 bulls. Perhaps the most known proponents of Mahamudra are the Mahasiddhas Tilopa, his student Naropa, and other great Mahasiddhas like Virupa. It's mostly known to have been transmitted through the Kagyupa order, but each order of Tibetan Buddhism has its own particular teaching of Mahamudra, including the Dzogchen Palyul tradition of the Nyingma, which is said to be a union of Mahamudra and Dzogchen. There are said to be esoteric or secret forms of Mahamudra teachings, as well as the non-esoteric forms. Most noted of the non-esoteric form teaching of Mahamudra, and perhaps the most famous, is what's known as the Song of Mahamudra of Tilopa given to Naropa. Of the esoteric teachings of Mahamudra, typically it is associated with the highest Yoga Tantra teachings as the completion stage level. It's said that there are generally 4 stages or 4 mandalas of Mahamudra in the esoteric, and this is also depicted usually in the esoteric literature as union stages with a consort. The first stage is said to be the glance. The second stage is said to be the kiss. The third stage is said to be the embrace. And the fourth stage is said to be complete union. This is depicted as the male and female deities in physical union. This is said to be done with the outer, the inner, and the secret consorts. Up to the level of the third is actually the use of a physical consort in the old traditions. Nowadays, monks visualize the consorts, but the fourth stage is usually represented by a complete realization of the yogi in a solitary meditative state, which is the Mahamudra. The previous states are known as the Prajnayunya, the Jnana Mudra, and Karma Mudra. Most people know the consorts as the name of Karma Mudra. Mahamudra is that highest union that occurs in the seat of the consciousness. The first stage of Mahamudra shows a picture of a monk who represents the meditator or the yogi, and he is following after the elephant, which represents the mind to be tamed and trained, but the mind is being led around by the monkey, which represents discursive emotions, ignorance, lusts, and so on. It is in this first setting out that's said to be called searching for the mind. And this is done in formal meditation when one first learns proper methods of sitting, breath control, breath counting, and basically following the techniques of tranquilization of the mind. In these pictograms we see fire. Fire represents the purification process. Here we see the meditator chasing further in the second panel the mind, which again is the elephant, being led by the monkey. The monkey represents discursive thought patterns, habitual tendencies. The yogi is trying to unite with the power of yoga, which represents the rope he's holding in his hand. And the white on the head of the monkey and the head of the elephant represents the process of purification that takes place when one applies the application of tranquility and insight meditation. It takes a while. This leads us to the third panel. In this third panel, we see that the mind has been finally caught, and that is a great thing, but it will soon get away. And this is where the great discovery has taken place. The elephant and the monkey are white. Under all discursive grime, the mind is actually pristine. And who knew? So now the monk has slowed down the mind, and the discursive emotions, often at this stage, the yogi experiences the realization of his bad practices and his erratic mind. This is when many practitioners of meditation actually have a very difficult time experiencing the control of say, habitual energy, lusts, and so on. This is said to be a time that must be really done with much care, because often many yogis fail at this point. This leads us to the fourth panel, in which the mind has actually become purified, and the monkey is no longer controlling the mind, but we have a new subtle aspect that has arrived in the picture, and this is the rabbit. The rabbit represents restlessness and the quickness of the mind to be unsatisfied with states of meditation and so on. This erraticness of mind often leads one into disregarding the practices again because of that restless nature. But this is soon conquered. Here we are at the fifth stage, where the meditator has finally taken the lead of the mind and also of the erratic nature of the undisciplined emotions and propensities and habits of the monkey, and also the rabbit, that dissatisfied aspect which seeks to stop practice starts becoming less apparent, and one starts developing true meditative absorption. This then leads us to the sixth stage. At the sixth stage, the mind is able to have absorption into tranquility and insight on its own. The yogi rarely needs to apply any strenuous hook or rope of yoga in order to achieve this. The monkey aspect becomes less interested in leading around the mind, and so it can be said that this is truly a stage where the yogi has achieved the beginnings of mental discipline in a true sense. At the seventh stage, it is called stillness, because the mind and its cravings have finally stopped. The restless monkey mind has abandoned this picture as well as the rabbit. And here the yogi is absorbed in the genuine samadhi of tranquility, though there is a memory still of a mind state of samsara and such. And this is where continued application of stillness of mind is essential. This leads us now to the eighth stage, where the meditator at will is leading the mind, which has been subdued and eradicated of discursive thought emotions and the poisonous tendencies of the mind. Here the meditator at will is living his practice on a day-to-day level. This is known as meditative and post-meditative absorptive practices, whereby tranquility is achieved not only while during active meditation, but in just ordinary activities. This is also seen as a loosening up of one's vows to strenuous practice. This is often seen in older age practices of yogis that have been practicing their whole lives. This is a pristine state. This is where one checks constantly to see if the mind is really truly trained or will revert back to its old untrained nature. Here at the ninth stage is said to be true union of the yogi and his mind, where they both can rest together without any fear of returning back to the undisciplined, hellish mind state of suffering. Now the yogi has achieved true samadhi in his practice. He has been trained, disciplined, and now he is experiencing the realization of his genuine effort and practice. This is the ninth stage. Here in the 10th picture, which is actually not one of the stages, but this is post-completion. This is said to be the yogi riding his pure mind all the way home, or to nirvana. This is a stage in which the yogi has no more practice, and all one must be concerned with is living in the absorption of a pure mind. This is the goal of yogis in the Mahamudra tradition. This is said to be the result of Vipassana Samatha, and in the Zen tradition, this is known as Kensho, and this is the goal of all yogis in the Mahamudra tradition.